Do you shop at Walmart because of their low prices? Maybe the supposed savings aren't all that great. Maybe the overall cost of shopping at Walmart, the giant retailer, is higher than you think. Hello, I'm Ted Asregadoo. This is Truthout Interviews, and on the program is Maura Stephens. She's an independent writer and also the Associate Director of the Park Center for Independent Media at Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York. And she also contributes to Truthout. And she penned a piece entitled, Walmart is not the bargain you might think. Hello, welcome to Truthout.
Thank you, Ted. Nice to be here.
You know, I have to admit, I only shopped at Walmart about 3 times in my life. So my experience as a customer or a consumer at their stores is really limited. But after reading your article on Truthout, it's really about Walmart workers on the one hand and also Walmart consumers. But there's this third thing too, and that is the Walmart business model, which is not unique in corporate capitalism. So maybe we could just talk about the business model that Walmart uses to increase their profits and make them kind of the retail giant that they are.
Well, Walmart doesn't do anything that a lot of other retailers and U.S. corporations don't do. Most of what they do is legal because the system has been set up to enable them to do what they do. So not saying that anything they do is necessarily illegal, but they do absolutely build their fortunes on the back of the U.S. public. And they do think of their employees and people who shop there, whom they call consumers. I don't know about you, but I hate the word consumers. And I hate being called a consumer. Almost everybody calls us consumers when they lump us in the GDP. Which I find incredibly obnoxious, but I don't use the word myself. But they do, and on the backs of communities, because communities are still, to this day, hoodwinked into thinking that they are somehow going to get a tax benefit by having this big monster store in their midst, even though by now most people in local politics must recognize that having these megastores come in means that many other smaller employers are going to go out of business and putting their employees out of work.
Yeah, they do kind of blockbusting, and then they come in with this idea that, we're going to employ a good chunk of the town, but in the meantime, if you have a small business and it's a direct competitor, or at least a competitor at some level with Walmart, you could probably guarantee that your business isn't going to last long.
I work in a community that is quite progressive, Ithaca, New York, the home of Cornell University and Ithaca College, and very literate, activist community with many, many human services. And back in the early 90s, we celebrated the fact that we were able to stop a Walmart from coming in here, patted ourselves on the back. I mean, we worked hard to keep Walmart from coming in because even that early, we recognized that these kinds of harms happen to communities. We wanted to protect our local merchants and our downtown, which was already struggling in tough times. So many of us banded together and stopped the Walmart from coming in, stopped the permits from being issued. They also decided to build it in a wetland, which helped our cause at the time. But lo and behold, 8 years later, we turned around and boom, there was a Walmart permitted and already half built before we even realized it. It was too late to stop it. So we now have a large Walmart here, along with many other big box stores, which operate on much the same model, not quite as successfully or as financially successfully as Walmart. But Walmart and these other big boxes are given tax breaks to come in here with the understanding that they're going to be great employers and great members of the community. And it never happens. I mean, it simply never happens. They're not great employers. They, as we've seen, 1,500 demonstrations across the country this Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, against Walmart because of the way it treats its employees, the way its employees are underpaid, they're hired frequently at less than full-time, so they are not given benefits, on top of the fact that they're already paid badly and made to work shifts that might not work in their personal circumstances.
And you talk about in your article, at least you write about in your article, about part of that business model is they move a key job creator where you could sustain maybe a middle class life, that is manufacturing, out of the country to places where the labor costs and the regulations on labor, at least safety and certainly workers' rights, are minimal to, well, if maybe not non-existent.
Who are shopping at Walmart are the very people whose jobs have been taken away by Walmart and sent abroad to Bangladesh and Vietnam and China. And that sort of disconnection between that's really why I wrote the article. I wrote the article because 2 days before Thanksgiving, I spoke to some colleagues who I just assumed were not Walmart shoppers, and asked, chit-chatting in the hallway, said, what are you up to? Are you cooking for tomorrow? And, oh, yes, I have to get to Walmart and buy stuff because I have a big crowd of people coming. And I said, really? Shop at Walmart? I was so surprised. And I said, why? And they said, well, it's convenient. And the prices are better than anywhere else in town. I can't afford to shop at Wegmans, or I can't afford to shop at the Asian market or the Tops. Or after hearing that from the third person, I said, oh boy, I really better look into this. I never expected these particular people to be shopping there. And surely they knew about the fact that Walmart has been responsible for killing downtowns around the country, for example, putting people out of work. And they do know that. But still, it comes down to a personal financial decision that they think they cannot afford to shop anywhere but Walmart. And they are only doing what they have to do. It's not their fault. They know that Walmart is an evil corporation. Nevertheless, they feel that they don't have a choice.
But you talk about in your article later on, towards the end of the article, really, and you do a comparison shopping. You talked about this grocery store chain, Wegmans, which I'm in California. You're on the East Coast. It's decidedly a sort of an northeastern, I think they stretch as far as Virginia at this point, grocery store chain that was also started by a family. And I think it's still owned by a family at this point.
It is, yeah.
But you went and you looked at various items, compared them to the same or similar priced or similar items at Walmart. And you found that at times that, yeah, maybe the Walmart did have did have a discount on some items.
I chose Wegmans because it is a moderate-sized chain. It is northeastern. It started in New York State. It stretched out to Pennsylvania, a few in Virginia, Delaware, and New Jersey, I think. And they're probably planning to grow quite a bit. But the difference is unbelievable between a Wegmans and Walmart. First of all, you may recall several years ago, Walmart broke out its plan to have organic food. And everybody was, oh boy, so it's a great sign for health and well-being and local farmers and so forth. Of course, it turned out to be a bit of a joke, and the whole idea of certified organic has become a bit of a joke, because what good is it for me to get a certified organic tomato from Chile that's, costs $1 trillion and miles and greenhouse gas emissions, if it's certified organic, and who knows what that means anyway, who's certifying it? Or should I buy from my local farmer who may not be certified organic? I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer, but most people don't recognize the difference. Apparently, it didn't go over big with Walmart shoppers, so they've sort of dropped even pushing it. If you flip through a food section, you don't even see anything about organics here, whereas Wegmans does. And they deliberately, they tell you the name of the farmer, where the farmer is from, so you know where all your produce is coming from. The prices are reasonable. In many cases, 4 out of the 6 or 7 items that I compared in that article were actually considerably cheaper at Wegmans. Not just a little bit, but considerably.
What a lot of stores do this. They put a sweetener deal in the Sunday paper, or they advertise it at some level. We have canned peaches for 69 cents, and so they get you in the store with the sweetener, but then the other items tend to be a little bit more expensive, so they can offset the loss they're going to take, or the discount that they're providing on product A, and then they inflate product B and C to make up for that. And then they also try to keep you in the store longer, so you spend more. So, I mean, we were talking about at the outset of this, it's that Walmart's business model isn't unique. They tend to excel at it, and they do a very good job of maximizing their product profits by constantly branding themselves as a discounted chain where you're always going to find low prices. We'll match the price, we'll do this, we'll undercut anybody. But that's not necessarily the case. It's sort of a shell game, or at least an illusion of advertising that they have.
Yeah, a shell game is a good way of putting it. It is a shell game, but so many people are hoodwinked by it. If the moral arguments, the financial arguments to the problems that are created in your community, the fact that people are being put out of work, the fact that people in Bangladesh are being killed literally because of these big corporations that don't give a damn about their lives, as factory workers, sewing items for Walmart and Sears and Target and all the other big boxes. People are not touched by any of those arguments, by the moral arguments or anything, but they are generally able to respond to the personal financial argument. And there really isn't. And then I also, at the end of the article, I included some ideas for how people can save money, and got a lot of pushback from people who said, well, I don't know any farmers. I'm not going to go get my produce from a farmer. I'm not going to be a member of a community-supported agriculture endeavor. I'm not going to buy a quarter of a pig with my neighbor. People who eat meat. I was a farmer for many years, and I also am urban. I've been urban, suburban, and rural. And while I was a farmer, I raised sheep and chickens and ducks and food crops, and I traded. For many years grew all of the food that my family ate, except for rice, tropical fruits, and a few other items. But for the most part, I either grew it or I traded with other people. And I also provided many urban friends with food. So it's very possible to do that.
Yeah, and you even say that you can scale it to what you can handle. Like if you live in a small studio apartment in an urban setting, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from growing herbs. There's nothing stopping you from doing smaller scale vegetables that may grow. I mean, you just have to research on what light and so forth.
Yeah. Neighborhood gardens in urban communities around the country. I in the 80s, one of my best parts of my career has been being part of an urban gardening group called Bronx Green Up. Just as it was getting started, it was from the New York Botanical Garden in the Bronx. And it was a wonderful program where we reclaimed really, really trash-strewn lots. I mean, burned out cars, used drug needles, I mean, all sorts of disgusting things in these places with the people who lived in the neighborhood. And we cleaned them up and amended the soil and created whatever kind of garden that people wanted. I mean, there are cooperative extensions and gardening clubs and libraries and all sorts of great places where people can learn from one another and swap seeds and do all that kind of stuff. So, all right, it may sound daunting to people who have lived only indoor lives and not been close to their food, but being close to your food is deeply, deeply gratifying. And it's deeply, deeply good for your pocket.
Right, and we're talking about some changes that one can make. You can make them as drastically or as radically as you want, or you can scale it to trying 2 or 3 things. But a lot of this comes back to the cost of shopping at a place like Walmart. And one of the costs that tends to be masked is the fact that because Walmart tends to pay their workers a very low wage, and they don't make a lot of money to afford things like health insurance or, for example, buying even the food that they sell at Walmart, that the government is left with sort of that helping hand through Medicaid, which is offered to people who are below the poverty line, and then you also have food stamps. So some of the Walmart workers are on food stamps and they're on Medicaid, and this is part of the company's business model, and it's a hidden cost, or at least a masked cost. That yes, hey, look how cheap our products are, but wait a minute, you as a taxpayer are paying on the other end to support workers who shouldn't even be on these programs. They're working for a living. I mean, if they can work for a decent wage, as you point out in your article, most people just really want a livable wage where they can save some money, they can live comfortably, they can have a house, and not feel like you're struggling year after year, and you're just seeing your paycheck decrease as the cost of living increases, and your employer isn't able to close that gap or isn't willing to close that gap. But that's the model that's going on with regards to Walmart, that it kind of separates out, consumers on the one hand, taxpayers on the other, workers on the other. These are all compartmentalized, but in reality, this is kind of, it's very interconnected.
Oh, it's very interconnected. Absolutely. I think it's like Walmart and Target to do that kind of thing, which is to treat their employees abysmally to the point that their employees' next door neighbors are now paying for their employees' Medicare and food stamps because there was one study. There were many studies I read, but I chose that one about Wisconsin. There was the Wisconsin study that said that when a Walmart moves into town, the general salary of the local people goes down, and that the local community ends up paying for one store $1 million in food stamps and health benefits for the families of the Walmart employees. $1 million in one store alone that you and I are paying, or the people in that community are paying for. And that's just obscene. We are targeting Walmart for protests all over the country, and that's a good thing. I think people are becoming more and more aware.
You do single out Walmart because that's the thrust of the article, but you say that this trend, if you will, of paying people less and less every year and having them do more and more work, and them not able to make ends meet, isn't just in retail or service industry. You highlight firefighters, college professors, people that work adjunct work at college campuses. They hardly make any money. I used to adjunct, and I couldn't believe how little money I made. I was just like, oh my God, it was insane.
Oh, it's disgusting. I mean, it's really, really disgusting. And what's even more disgusting is the most privileged people in the country outside of corporate America are tenured college professors, tenured, because they have a guarantee of lifetime job. I mean, what cushy, I mean, they work their butts off, admittedly. They do work hard, and they deserve to be well compensated, but they're not standing up for the adjuncts who are not well compensated and getting no benefits. And while we're at it, let's talk about the absolute insane seizure of public employee pensions that's going on right now, especially in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin. They're trying to take away firefighters and teachers and cops' pensions that they've paid into for all these years. I mean, people take these lower paying jobs knowing that at least they're going to have a guarantee of a pension later on. I mean, these are jobs that should be much higher paid than they are, but people do it out of a sense of service, or, most people who go into teaching or firefighting have pretty noble intentions, but now they're trying to take away those benefits that they. And the word entitlement has become kind of a bad thing, but entitled means you're entitled to it because it is yours, right?
Well, Maura, I want to thank you so much for being on the program.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Ted. Thanks so much.
Maura Stephens, she's a writer for Truthout, and she is also the Associate Director at Parks Center for Independent Media at Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York. And that's Truthout Interviews for another week. I'm Ted Asregadoo. We'll see you next time.